Now, Bristol Council bosses are refusing to pay back £31 million in ULEZ fines, although it's their CAS fines for that city, to the city's drivers, despite the scheme's chief admitting that those charges have been worded inaccurately and therefore are legally invalid. Joining me now to discuss this is co-founder of the Together Declaration, Alan Miller, who is leading the charge, I think, against a lot of these charges. And I've always said, Alan, didn't I? Oh, you know, people think we talk about ULEZ in London, it's all about London. No, it's going to happen in every other city and town in the country. Of course, it's happening in Bristol. People are up in arms about this, though, aren't they?
They are, Julia, and we've seen that. Actually, there was a really good record of people appealing this with the parking tribunal. Only 1 in 5 were upheld for the council in the first 6 months. So I would encourage everyone in Bristol to actually go to the tribunal and challenge it. But now John Lyon, who overturned 12 of his charges, has indicated that it was even issued with the incorrect legal information and they should all be disbanded. But a much bigger question is, why are they doing it, Julia? Yes. And we've seen now that we've got a few green billionaires that are underwriting a lot of this push to hijack, effectively, local democracies, local areas, with these measures that will mean lots of increased charges, surveillance, restrictions, limits, road closures and clean air zones, where all sorts of charges, £9 in Bristol City's case for a car per day, but £60 and £120 charges if that's not met. None of this has been done democratically. Many people have opposed them.
This, were they? There weren't people going, oh, this is terrible, we've got such problem with clean air. And also, by the way, the air in all of our towns and cities has never been cleaner than it is now.
That's absolutely right. We've seen in the last decade in particular a real transformation, but actually in the last 30 years. And on metrics internationally, Britain and our cities come up very high at the level of clean air. So we've got a really good situation. Obviously, things can always be improved, but the question is, how's that done? And is there a cost-benefit analysis? Is there transparency with constituents? Is there an open, honest debate and discussion? That's not been happening. That's why Together we had a really remarkable event in Bristol where after we had that with LTNs, they were paused in a part of Bristol.
Now, just clarify, that's LTNs, for the people who don't pay too much attention to this stuff, low traffic neighbourhoods. It's basically where they put in bollards. They just, without consulting even local people, we'll just put in bollards, oh, but we'll put flowers on it so it's OK, and just say you can't drive down this street anymore. But they don't even ask local residents.
That's right. And, you know, when they do consultations, they don't go to everyone or the businesses, and then they generally disregard them. And we've seen a pattern. And this pattern is similar to the Mayor of London, who's saying it's not the right kind of respondents to ULEZ. Basically, with disregard and contempt for, you know, democracy and for the public opinion. So that's why we're encouraging everyone now to sign our pledge for transparency around net zero. We're asking people in this election year to say to their MP and their councillor, sign the pledge, because it's about transparency about what's going on with net zero. Let's have an open discussion. Let's have scrutiny. Let's have proper, rigorous debate around it.
And as you say, that cost-benefit analysis, which we crucially didn't have before net zero was signed into law. But this is the key thing, isn't it? Like, these policies, as you say, being pushed by, you know, the great and the good and the green billionaires, they're funding this. This money isn't coming from grassroots, it's coming from billionaires who don't have to deal with this issue. It doesn't make a difference to them if people are being charged to drive into their city centres. Their limo drivers can afford it anyway. What do they care? But it does have a massive impact on ordinary working people trying to go about and live freely in their cities that they've grown up in.
Exactly. And we're seeing already threats of blackouts. We're seeing chiefs of wind turbines and other solar saying, let's be prepared for much higher costs. What it all means, Julia, is that it isn't going to have the energy needs that we require, and we're all going to pay triple or more for it. So we're in a difficult situation with the whole net zero agenda. We've got to have a proper debate nationally about it. And we're saying no to net zero and go back to the drawing board and have a discussion about costs and benefits. What does it mean? Does it mean we can't travel? Does it mean we can't go on holiday? Does it mean we're not going to have a job that pays good money?
And when they ask people those specific questions, funnily enough, people don't want to sign up for it. Alan Miller, thank you so much for joining us. You're such a fantastic campaigner for democracy, co-founder of the Together Declaration. Benedict Spence, I mean, look, all he's asking for, this whole movement is asking for, is just to ask local people what they think about democratic choices.
But again, what is the economic impact of ULEZ or low traffic neighbourhoods or the 20-mile-an-hour zone in Wales that's been introduced? What is the actual net, the knock-on effects of this? We've been talking throughout the show, shortages in the military, shortages in staffing, and all of these things. That's because little decisions at grassroots level that have a negative economic impact, they all add up and it all contributes to a system that then cannot fulfil its roles. If you want a functioning state with welfare and all of that and a military, you cannot do this self-indulgent sort of thing where you artificially inflate people's ability to live.
And the ability to make things, to deliver things, to exist. Exactly. Travel and energy
is what we need.
Absolutely
not more expensive,
vital.
but green.
Nailed it all. This is why we have him on the show. Benedict Spence, thank you very much. He won't fight for us, but he does talk good sense. Benedict Spence, thank you so much. Sadly,